Hello, I'm Don Phipps, Superintendent of the Caldwell County Schools, and I'll be your host on this edition of Caldwell County Schools Profiles. We have two conversations that we're going to have today. One will be about technology, a one-to-one initiative, and where we're at with distribution of devices for students and how those are being used. And then we're going to talk about two unique grant opportunities. Joining me in the second session, or the second segment of our show, will be two of our principals. Melissa Costin will be with me, and Jason Tiefteller. But I'm proud to have Cody Green with me now. Cody is with our technology department. He's the director of everything that we do in our school system technology related. And Cody, I know that it's a huge job, and certainly over the last few years has become a big deal. But when we talk about one-to-one initiatives, a viewer may not know that we're talking about having a device for a student. And I've always said that if that was the goal, I feel like it falls short of what we want to do. We need to have a plan for what we're doing with those devices. But right now, the move is to put what type of device in the hands of our students?
Currently, we're trying to give every student a Chromebook. We're looking at about 11,000 Chromebooks across the district. And it's a process getting those out. We're looking at, we have 9 schools currently. That's one-to-one. Every student has a device. And we currently have those in stock. We're just trying to get those out to the schools.
And this has been accelerated by COVID, which is an odd thing to say. I think we can look back at the COVID experience that we've had, and there's certainly been a lot of negative, but there have been some positives that have come out of that, and part of that is the funding at the state and federal level. How much of that has played a role in our ability to accelerate the purchase and the deployment of these devices?
We've, with the acceleration with COVID, we've added probably 4,000 to 5,000 devices with that funding.
And how about for teachers? I know that we've also felt a need. Can you explain to the viewer what we realized last year when we were quickly pushed into a remote environment and we found out that the devices that teachers had may have had limitations, and we fixed that? What did we do about that?
So at first we bought Chromebooks for teachers, and it come to find out the students connecting to Zoom was kind of taxing on the devices. So to combat that, we have purchased now Windows laptops for every teacher, which they should be receiving shortly.
And what other types of initiatives are in place? And I throw that on you, and then I know your mind starts to think about it, but I'm thinking about the projection devices. I'm thinking about the remote teaching rooms that we've established, the Kajit devices. Explain to our viewers the other types of technology initiatives.
So other things that we're trying to put out is the Wi-Fi hotspots. Students that cannot access the internet at home, we are providing hotspots for those students. We're putting cameras, webcams in classrooms so teachers can connect to those students from the school itself. Trying to think of other things.
How about projection? There was the overhead projector back in the day, and then there was a digital projector, and now we're doing more with televisions and casting. Is that correct?
Yes. We've bought quite a bit of TVs. We're replacing projectors. Now teachers will be able to bring their Chromebook or any mobile device and cast to the display to be able to walk around the room and display whatever they're working on their device.
And we're also piloting devices. I know we have the Merlin that's a kind of an, I guess for lack of a better term, it's like an Alexa that a teacher can use in the classroom to help do things like that. So let's talk a bit about the remote learning classrooms. And we talk about remote learning in the class, but we're talking about an actual classroom that's set up. We have one of those at all 3 high schools. We have one at the community college that allows us to do broadcasting to eliminate some of the transportation barriers and hurdles that we have to go through. Talk about that just a bit.
So with a great partnership of the community college here, we've worked hand in hand with the community college to connect the college along with our students here in Caldwell County Schools. Those classrooms are set up with TVs in front of the room and in the back of the room with microphones in the ceiling, so that so those students can communicate remotely with those teachers.
And when we talk about remote, or we talk about multimedia rooms, and you and I have had that conversation, the ability to have a state-of-the-art room where we have meetings. In the old days, and I guess the old days could be 5 years ago maybe, as far as technology lingo and that type thing and the way things change. In the old days, a multimedia room would be a place that you would go in very much like a theater, and you'd sit down and you'd be a consumer of information that's being directed to you. But now what we have going on is a lot more of a bi-directional communication and transmission. Is that true?
Yes, for sure.
So we're talking about microphones, we're talking about the ability not only to receive on one end, but also to send on that end. And really the points of contact that we have out and about are unlimited.
Yes, for sure. We can, eventually we're looking about connecting all the schools together. So, if we have meetings, we can connect teachers from elementary to elementary. So that allows, the communication back and forth remotely instead of getting crowds together.
Well, I want our public to know, our viewers also want our staff members and team members in our school system to know that if we ever get to the point where we say we're now 1-to-1 because our number of devices either meets or exceeds our number of students, we don't celebrate at that point and say we've made it and then that's the end of it. That really ought to be the beginning of it. Definitely. And there needs to be a plan in place. And I've long argued that it's not about the device, it's not the Chromebook. It could be that in a science class students need a pH probe, or they may need a microscope, or they may need something to be able to create movies or to do some kind of laptop or computer-based design work for architecture and CADs and things like that. So, just to say Chromebook, I want the public to know that we're constantly looking at emerging technologies, and we know that it's difficult to be on the front edge and the leading generation of devices just because of expense, but we've had tremendous support from funders, from folks that have given us charitable contributions, and I feel like with your leadership and the team in technology, we've been able to maximize those dollars. Now, I know also we've got Senate Bill 654 that's come out, and it talks about remote learning, and it talks about some requirements that we have in place. Can you tell the viewers a bit about your connection with curriculum? Because I felt like when I got here, that was something that was important to me, would be to have you sitting at the table with our curriculum leaders and not have the two departments separate from each other. Why is it important to you in the job that you do to be at the table, even though you may not have a degree in curriculum and you're not teaching in the classroom? You certainly play a role in that with what we've talked about already, but from your personal, professional standpoint, why is that important and valuable for you to be there?
So the importance to connect to curriculum and technology is, to make these programs work directly with the technology that we're purchasing. In the past, I've seen that we've purchased things and they've not worked correctly with the devices. So bringing these teams together has been a critical piece for my department, making all of our devices work.
And then you hear the conversation and you understand better what we're trying to accomplish on the curriculum side, and then you piece that together with the knowledge that you have on technology, and we hope it's helped us not make mistakes that we might have made or learn from mistakes that others have made and hopefully spend more money wisely. Well, anything else you want to add on the technology front?
I think that's it.
We're grateful. I know that the workload and the work orders and the repair pieces and the running wire and those things never end. So we're grateful for you and your team and appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our first segment. If you'll stay with us, come back. We're going to have a second segment. We'll be talking about some innovative projects that have come out of some grants that two of our principals have. Again, joining me will be Melissa Costin and Mr. Jason Tiefteller. Please come back. Welcome back. We're back for segment 2 of our program today, and I have joining me now the principal from Kings Creek School, Ms. Melissa Costin. Melissa, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
And Mr. Jason Tiefteller, who's from Baton Elementary, will be on in just a few moments. But I want to talk with both principals about something called the Purpose of Go grant, and I know you're very familiar with that. But just to let our viewers know, the North Carolina Schools Go Outside, GO grant, was created to address barriers to going outside. They also allow access to field study locations and assist with other expenditures that result from taking students outdoors. Field trips and outdoor experiences offer students opportunities to explore and learn in hands-on environments. Schools within the district received a combined total of almost $110,000 in grant funding during the 2021 school year, and we're going to put those on the screen so that you can see the schools and the amounts that they received. But Ms. Costin, that's what I want to talk about with respect to Kings Creek and what you all did, outdoor classroom, right?
Yes, sir, we did.
Talk to me a bit about what you did, why you did it, and how it's being used.
Sure. There's a lot of different purposes in the GO grant that you can do, but as you said, the purpose is to get the children outside. And we opted for an outside classroom, which is a covered shelter, and it is on a cement pad, and it has furniture that is metal and bolted in for safety. And it is in the courtyard between buildings, and so it's very easily accessible for the students. And the reason we decided to go for the GO grant is there's a lot of research that children who go outside to learn lessons have a better sense of self, sense of space. They often grow up to use parks, greenways, those kind of things more often. It also develops motor skills and some problem-solving skills they don't have in a four-wall classroom. So we built this outdoor classroom, and our classes have started using it. I think that the most amazing part of it is the enthusiasm. The children are excited. And so a math lesson, a science lesson becomes ramped up to a much more exciting experience. I was out there the other day. They had been studying in their history and social studies about catapults, and they had seen pictures, and they went out into the outdoor classroom and built catapults, and they were just so excited, and they had to use different kinds of materials to make them, and they had to design them themselves. And so being able to use an outdoor space like that for things like STEM is particularly helpful, because sometimes in the classroom that's not as feasible. If you are catapulting something, you would prefer it not hit a light fixture. So outside they're able to do that in a very safe environment.
In our earlier segment, we talked a bit about COVID and how COVID had accelerated some of the things that we were doing. One of the pieces that we've been told from the beginning in terms of mitigation and ways to better control situations were to move things outdoors. And I would assume the grant coming at the time that it did, the need to be outdoors allowed that to happen. How do you encourage it among teachers? Or is it something that they jumped on and they really don't need a lot of prodding and encouragement from you?
They really don't need a lot of prodding and encouragement. They jumped on it. I have a large breadth of grades from preschool to 8th grade. And so there's a lot of different uses for the space, and I've seen them utilize it differently depending on the age groups that they've had, but I've seen all of the age groups out there at different times doing different things, from very intricate science experiments where they're studying the trajectory of the movement, to something much more simple with a smaller class, a younger class. But the teachers are excited about it as well. The students' enthusiasm level goes up, so much so that the lesson becomes more engaging, and that's what you're always wanting, is the engagement of the child. When they go back in the classroom and I'm going back by and I'm checking on them, they're able to articulate exactly why they were out there, what they were doing, and how excited they were. Right now in this time of COVID, where they're able to take masks off outdoors, has made a huge difference. It gives them a moment where they can just learn without that mask on their face.
So now that you have the experience, are there other ideas that you are starting to think about that you would like to do on the outside?
Absolutely. I've already been speaking with Amy Filial. We pulled some grants that we're thinking about. We have already completed 2 that have to do with musical instruments outside and some other things. So yes, we are absolutely working on utilizing all the space, the school grounds, so that they're not just trapped inside, so that it's everywhere.
And I think the public would be happy to know that we really view learning in the classroom as happening beyond the walls of the classroom. And sometimes the greatest learning, and like you said, the engagement and what students are able to bring back and remember and apply in different settings happens outside of the classroom.
I think that's absolutely right. And for us, being a community school, it's also a community connection. The Kings Creek Fire Department, which is a huge supporter of our school, as far as clothing, all kinds of donations, they can go down there and have a class, on the weekend when they need to work outside and do things. And so we've been able to partner outside of the school as well as inside, so that's been good.
This is just another example of innovation in our school system, and we're so grateful that you're here to share that with us. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
And that'll conclude segment 2. We'll have one final segment with Mr. Teef Teller joining me, so we hope you'll come back. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us for this third and final segment of this edition of Profiles. I have with me Mr. Jason Teef Teller, who's the principal at Baton Elementary School. Mr. Teef Teller, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
I want to follow up and continue the conversation I was having with Ms. Costin, and that would be some of the grant work for outdoor types of things that are learning or activities. And yours is a little bit different than what we talked about at Kings Creek. Share with me and our viewers what you've done at Baton.
So we applied for the Go Outdoor grant, and it kind of evolved as we got into the grant process, but the one thing we wanted to do was we built a mountain bike trail, and then we had a nature trail. We have several different types of plants around our campus, and we wanted to identify those. And then we did a community garden, and we started out with an educational apiary beehive, instructional beehive, and then we got a little pushback about bees. So changed that to a bird sanctuary. We worked with, I put it out in one of my parent memos, and I just asked if anybody would like to be a part of the process, and sure enough, I had a couple of grandparents who jumped in, and they've really just kind of taken off with it. Betty and Kenny Kimberlin, they run Hearts and Souls. It's a nonprofit in our community that helps with donating shoes to our schools. But he's also a mountain bike enthusiast, and he started promoting the idea out in the community and getting sponsorships for bicycles, and then he worked with Over Mountain Cycles in Morganton, and so they put together a big order, and we have 20 Cannondale kid-sized mountain bikes that were donated to our school. As part of it was the grant, part of it was actual sponsorships in the community. The nature trail is not really a trail yet, but the plan is to map it out around the campus. But we have several markers, plant markers in the ground, and there's a QR code, and you can zap it with your phone, and it'll take you to a website to find out more about the different types of plants. So it has the common name on the marker, and then you can go learn more about the plant. And so the idea is that they can go around our campus to different places and learn about the different types of plants there. The community garden, we have the only elementary 4-H chartered club in the county, and so we turned that over to our 4-H club, and they planted the garden, mostly tomatoes and peppers, and then that took us through the summer. And then the bird sanctuary is more just a variety of bird feeders and bird baths and things like that around, just to take care of the different birds, so that hopefully we can also identify some birds and get.
We always talk about the why. So when I ask you why you ended up with a nature trail and a bird sanctuary and a mountain bike trail, what do you hope is accomplished, and how does it benefit your school and your students?
We're obligated to teach a standard course of study, and I'm also a believer in developing good people. And so I think sometimes if you get kids outside and expose them to something that they may not get to really experience otherwise, it helps with that, and the two go hand in hand with the curriculum. So I guess my why for that is I want kids to be physically active because I think their health is important. It's something they can do. It's an athletic activity without necessarily having to be an athlete, so anybody can do it. The birds, I just feel like that's something that they're going to be exposed to, and they can see and be a part of our community and help to take care of our environment. And the same thing with the plants. So it's a way to enhance the curriculum and expand the curriculum, just a way to teach kids without having to actually formally teach it, I think.
In the bicycle donation, I'm sorry I was not there for that presentation, but that was a pretty big deal. And you said that, but the type of bike and the price tag associated with those and the fact that we have those available for students is really incredible. What do we do to make sure, because you've got kindergartners and then fifth graders and everything in between, how do we ensure that students are able to have access to the things that you've created, regardless of their size or their limitations or whatever there may be?
So first of all, the bicycles that we have now are 20-inch bicycles, so they're a little bit smaller. I did speak with Ms. Kimberlin yesterday, and she's working on getting some 24-inch bicycles, some bigger ones for some of our bigger children. My PE teacher, Coach Colt Kale, he also rides bikes, and so he's excited about building that into the PE curriculum, but also looking at the possibility of having an after-school biking club. And we've got some places around here where where there's some mountain bike trails and things, and I think we're looking at expanding that into some other opportunities for kids with that program. But I think as part of the program, there's going to have to be an element of teaching there to teach the kids how to ride, how to when the bicycles were delivered, we had a student take the bicycles and she didn't realize what the kickstand was for, and so we had to actually say, yeah, you kick it, and so I think there's going to be an element of teaching involved with that, bike safety, all of that. We're excited about just making sure that they.
Well, we may have viewers that are hearing this for the first time, and they may have been thinking they want to do something to contribute to the schools, and they'd like to do something innovative or unique, and the bicycle piece may be that. So I'd encourage them to reach out and have a conversation with you about how they could help.
As another part of what Over Mountain Cycles did for us, they also helped us get some maintenance equipment, so that as tires go flat or chains break and things like that, we can fix some of the things, so it's not an additional burden on the school. So we're always going to be looking for help with replacing bicycles or repairing bicycles or maintenance on the trail. Ms. Costin mentioned the fire department in Kings Creek. I'm pretty proud of the North Catawba Fire and Rescue Department in our district, and they have offered to help maintain the trail and use it as part of a chainsaw training for their crew. And so just a way to expand it into the community and get more support is appreciated.
One of the things that I hear it from you, I hear it from Melissa, I heard it when we talked with Cody, partnerships and folks from the outside that help us, whether it's the donation of money or coming in and helping us with things that they do, whether it's repairing a chain on a bike or working in the technology world. We had several thousands, almost $100,000 last year that was donated from area churches that helped us with hotspots. And then I hear about the grant, and I hear the outdoor classroom and the things that are going on. So I just want to say to the public, thank you for your support. We couldn't do the things that we do without having outside sponsors and folks that are willing to be partners. But thank you for being here with me today and sharing that.
Thank you for having me.
We hope this has been informative. We hope that it's exciting, and we hope you realize that every school in our district is unique, has great opportunities, and while we value the classroom experience, we realize there's great value in things that students do outside of the classroom as well. We hope that you've enjoyed this entire program, and we hope to see you next month. Thank you.